So recently I went back and watched an episode of the Lex Fridman podcast with Sam Harris as a guest, and I saw something really surprising in it. So some of the way through the conversation, Sam says something about the emergence of artificial intelligence, but he says something that is very antinatalist, and I don't think he realizes this. And the reason I wanted to do a video on it is because I think if this is brought to everyone's attention, maybe someone who has access to Sam or someone who has the opportunity to speak to him can actually talk to him about just the little jump that I think he needs to make to antinatalism. Anyway, so before we go any further, let's check out the clip.
You talked negatively about robots, as you often do, so let me, because you'll probably die first when they take over.
I'm looking forward to certain kinds of robots. I mean, I'm not, if we can get this right, this would be amazing.
Right. But you don't like the robots that fake consciousness. That's what you don't like the idea of fake it till you make it.
Well, no, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I'm worried that we will lose sight of the problem, and the problem has massive ethical consequences. I mean, if we create robots that really can suffer, that would be a bad thing, right? And if we really are committing a murder when we recycle them, that would be a bad thing. But I do think it would be, if anything is bad, creating hell and populating it with real minds that really can suffer in that hell, that's bad. That's you are worse than any mass murderer we can name if you created. I mean, this could be in robot form, or more likely it would be in some simulation of a world where we managed to populate it with conscious minds, so that whether we knew they were conscious or not, and that world is a state of it's unendurable. Well, then we could find ourselves creating conscious minds that are miserable, right? And that's just like creating a person who's miserable. Right. It could be worse than creating a person who's miserable. It could be even more sensitive to suffering.
Cloning them and maybe for entertainment, watching them suffer.
Just like watching a person suffer for entertainment.
So Sam says here, if we can create robots who really can suffer, that would be a bad thing. He's basically just gotten to antinatalism, and actually he goes further later, but let's just linger on this bit for a minute. So if we create robots that can suffer, that would be a bad thing. Now, clearly I agree with that. And why is that? What's the basics of antinatalism? Why create suffering out of nothing, especially when you're creating it, and it's someone else who is going to have to go through it? Like, if you create your own suffering, then like whatever, whoop-de-doo, you create it, you have to go through it, it's your decision. But it's making it on someone else's behalf, and that's what we would be doing if we create an artificial intelligence that can suffer. And Sam recognizes that. He then actually later in the clip makes a link to antinatalism, but he doesn't quite get the full way there, and I'll explain why. So he says creating basically a hell and populating artificial minds with it, which is essentially what we would be doing if we could create artificial intelligence that can suffer, and we just put them there and they suffer. I think that would probably be defined as hell, right? And he says doing that would be just like doing the same thing to a human. So he's bridged the gap there. He's bridged the gap to humans. But the reason I don't think he's fully got to antinatalism is because he doesn't recognize that actually when we create anyone, we're creating them to suffer. Now, you might not characterize it as hell, but we do create everyone and put them in a situation where they are going to suffer significantly and have guaranteed death. I think Sam's observation about creating people and putting them in hell would only apply to a certain number of people. He's probably talking about people who are put in a situation where their life is just absolute hell relative to the norm, or you create someone who just inherently has some sort of chemical imbalance, or maybe they have some sort of condition where it just means that just like biologically just their inner being is set in a way where they are going to suffer a massively amount more than the average person. And Sam here says that would be a bad thing if we did that, but he doesn't then make the transition to just like the average life, just anyone. Just creating anyone is putting them in a position of suffering, not just those people that are in hell. And basically Sam there is making the risk argument for antinatalism, right? He's saying, well, if we create someone, they could end up in that class of person who has just a hellish life, and so let's just err on the side of caution and not do that. He makes that point, but he doesn't go as far as to say everyone. And just for anyone that's watching this video who is an antinatalist or who hasn't really heard about it before and doesn't really get what I'm saying, so if you put someone in a situation where their life is is hell. I think anyone would agree that that is a bad thing, right? And Sam says that here, and he links it from artificial intelligence. But what most people don't recognize is, yeah, that's hell, but why is it hell? Because they're suffering a lot. But the thing is, everyone suffers quite a lot. Not to the same degree, but all of the suffering is completely unnecessary. You don't need to create someone. It's just something you did. And now there's someone there that could suffer to the degree of those people that you class as in a hellhole. And everyone goes through guaranteed death as well. So when we create someone who didn't need to suffer and now is. And they never wanted the good sides of life that we claim to justify the suffering, right? Now, bringing it back to Sam, even if Sam doesn't broaden his point to encompass antinatalism entirely, at least what he's put forward here is that we should be treating procreation with way more concern than we already are. I think he is trying to convey the gravity of the situation of creating an artificial intelligence that can suffer, which I really don't think many people are paying attention to. But what Sam hasn't done is then related that to humans in a broad way. He's only done it in a specific way. I think it would be good if we could maybe push him a bit further so that he can recognize that procreation is the risky and unnecessary business that antinatalists recognize it to be. But anyway, let me know what you think of what Sam said in the comments. Let me know if, maybe I'm going too far in my observation. Maybe I'm making it to be something it isn't. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.